3 days, and if they're willing to live a little like they did in Vietnam. It's a military-style camp set up in the shadows of downtown San Francisco at Woodrow Wilson High this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's Project Stand Down. The homeless vets here can get free haircuts, clothing, medical care, and legal counseling. Sponsored by Swords to Plowshares, and they could use, by the way, some volunteers to help them out.
Good morning, everyone. 19 minutes before 7 o'clock, and it is a Friday morning.
Good weekend in store for us. Well, several hundred homeless veterans are expected to get some help this weekend. They'll be heading off to a type of camp that hopes to offer them an escape from city streets. The Center for's Manuel Gallegos is live at San Francisco Civic Center this morning, where the vets are lining up. Good morning.
Well, Mark, good morning. What you're seeing behind me are homeless veterans, as you mentioned, lining up here at the Civic Center to go to a program they call Stand Down. It is a type of camp designed to help them for the weekend with some of their basic needs. Michael BLECKER with Swords to Plowshares is a sponsor of the camp. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about it and what people can expect this weekend.
Well, you know, this is a project, you know, it's sort of a dramatic way to show the problem of homeless vets and maybe give them a respite from the streets. And it's a military term to take combat troops stand down out of harm's way. And in one sense, when you're in the street, it's like a combat situation. So the Veterans Administration is out there, going to provide a medical dispensary and issue ID cards. We're going to have service providers, attorneys out there if guys have legal beefs, but primarily trying to get the guys to interact among themselves, you know, strengthen their own networks. Maybe take a step. It doesn't have to be a giant step. Maybe it can be a small step, you know. And
haircuts,
haircuts, services, you know, obviously a little clothes, some food, that kind of thing. But again, primarily just among themselves, the groups interacting among themselves.
Who's out here this morning? Who do you think mostly make up the group?
No, they're all veterans, served their country. Many of them served during the Vietnam War. Probably the majority are. And, you know, they're people that, veterans, you know, who are trying to survive, you know, with a little dignity and respect, which is what we hope to give them at our stand-down event.
How many veterans do you estimate are on the streets?
Probably a third of the homeless are veterans, and whatever number you use, I would say something like, probably in San Francisco, something like 2,500 homeless veterans.
What do you think, should people feel sorry for these guys? What do you think?
I think primarily, I think people should see people as homeless who are people. You know, many of them serve their country. They could be their uncle, they could be their brother, they could be their father, they could be their friend, they could be a family member, a true community member, you know, that kind of thing. It's a human face, it's a human problem, and somehow we're all somehow connected to it.
Okay. Michael BLECKER, thank you. With Swords to Plowshares, again, that camp runs for the weekend and Sunday night, and we'll be following it today. Back to you.
And we wish them all luck. Thank you, Manuel.
They are veterans without homes. Tonight in San Francisco, they are being treated with compassion and respect. Day 2 of the manhunt on Mount Hamilton, and sheriff's deputies come up empty, now saying their suspect found a way out.
A relieved and happy President Clinton comments on Congress's passage of his deficit reduction plan. And in Southern California, a 12-year-old Boy Scout survives a savage attack by a bear. These stories, all the news this Saturday night, August 7th, 1993.
Live from KTVU, this is the Emmy Award-winning 10 o'clock news on Channel 2, the #1 primetime newscast in the country.
Good evening, I'm George Watson.
And I'm Leslie Griffith. A group of homeless veterans are enjoying a rare evening of pampering in San Francisco tonight. It includes dinner, a movie, and no worries about where to sleep. It's an attempt to care for hundreds of vets normally lost and wandering the streets. DIANE DWYER is in San Francisco now, and she has a live report for us. DIANE.
Leslie, normally at this time, many of these homeless veterans are looking for a safe place to sleep on the streets, but that is not the case tonight. They will all sleep in warm tents here at Woodrow Wilson High School in San Francisco. The veterans' rights group Swords to Plowshares sponsored this weekend-long program called Project Stand Down. It's not only a place for some of these homeless veterans to sleep and eat, it is also a place for them to get the practical help they need to get them back on their feet.
I had the opportunity to get a resume put together for a job that I'm interviewing for next week. It was very professional. The people were very courteous. They took the time to listen, and they worked real hard.
Jones is one of about 200 homeless veterans who attended the 3-day camp. It's a chance for the veterans to meet each other and get some much-needed help. The Salvation Army provided the food, and several public and private groups provided special services, from job counseling to medical care.
Department of Social Services, we're here with welfare assistance. EDD was here with job assistance information, a medical tent, a little medical dispensary here. They had issued ID cards, picture ID cards that are very helpful. So we have a little MASH unit here.
Nearly all of the veterans here say they spend most of their time here on the streets in San Francisco. The camp is a chance to get them off the cold streets, at least for a few days. It is also a chance to meet other veterans, such as Wes Lewis, a Vietnam vet, who says he was homeless and a drug addict, but he says he's changing his life.
I'm working on 13 months clean and sober. I live in a transitional house, and my life has changed. I have some friends. I have a lot of self-esteem, and things aren't fantastic, but I do have a life again.
These homeless people also had an opportunity to relax and do some things they never get a chance to do on the streets. They played volleyball, and they laughed.
You know, I feel like we're all a team here, and you know, it's very much so. I've talked to some people, and I've got phone numbers to call people. And
for job opportunities?
Job leads, yes, exactly. Yeah.
In one sense, the streets are like combat. And here we're creating an environment that's safe, and you're treating people with respect and dignity, and even relaxing.
Now, many of the homeless veterans are still up in the cafeteria watching a movie tonight. Others are getting ready to go to bed in these military tents. The program does end tomorrow, and although many of the veterans will be back on the streets tomorrow night, many others said they are one step closer to getting their lives back together. Leslie and George?
Let's hope so. Thank you, Diane.
There are major problems facing one segment of our population, homeless Vietnam vets. Though the war has long been over, the pain lingers for some. This weekend, there's been an effort to help them get back on their feet. Channel 7's Ed Leslie reports on the military-style encampment in San Francisco.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
It was the third annual Stand Down, which is a military term describing a peaceful period of preparation. In this case, preparation for improving the lives of veterans with and without homes, with problems of all kinds, with or without much hope.
We need to come to the veterans. The veterans can come out to the VA Medical Center anytime for care, and many of these vets we know. But when there's an event like this, where for 3 days the goal really is to put people in a therapeutic environment to try to get their lives in order, so I think we ought to come to them.
That's negative. That means you have not been exposed to tuberculosis.
Great. When I came here, I don't care if the world knows, I had bugs, lice, I was totally filthy. I was lower than whale caca. And this place cleaned me up.
EDFCZF. Well, the main benefit is to try to provide an intervention for these veterans to try to jumpstart them, so to speak, and get them to thinking about where they are in their lives and looking at if that's where they want to be, and looking at how they can make some changes.
Okay, real good.
After 3 days of employment counseling, medical attention, and other support, it was finally time to strike camp and either move on to a better life or return to the streets. In San Francisco, Ed Leslie, Channel 7 News.
Now, once they wore uniforms and fought for our country, now many veterans line our city streets, homeless and often hopeless. But there was some hope this weekend in San Francisco. Reporter Ed Leslie shows us how basic training at this soldiers camp may lead some vets towards a brighter future.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
It was the third annual Stand Down, which is a military term describing a peaceful period of preparation. In this case, preparation for improving the lives of veterans with and without homes, with problems of all kinds, with or without much hope.
We need to come to the veterans. The veterans can come out to the VA Medical Center anytime for care, and many of these vets we know. But when there's an event like this, where for 3 days the goal really is to put people in a therapeutic environment to try to get their lives in order, so I think we ought to come to them.
That's negative. That means you have not been exposed to tuberculosis.
Great. When I came here, I don't care if the world knows. I had bugs, lice. I was totally filthy.